everyone! Welcome to Title the Podcast.
With Joe.
And Joe!
Yan, episode 1.
Yes! Can you believe it?
Yeah, and title is Unnecessary Responsibilities.
Yes.
Wow, very hefty. Saan galing yun?
So I was flipping through Facebook and then I came across yung isang page dun called Learning Petals. And then may nakalagay dun, 7 things you are not responsible for. So I was like, interesting. Parang magandang topic ito sa ating first episode.
Ito ba yung 7 Things by Mel Robbins?
Yes.
Okay.
So, before anything else, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
Welcome back sa ating mga old listeners and welcome sa mga bago.
So, we're just gonna dive into this topic for today. I know marami na ring nag-discuss nito, but I just want to have us to have a different take on these 7 things.
I think marami nag-discuss nito kasi this is a very it's a very quintessential conversation, especially with Gen Z coming up, right? Like yung idea ng boundary setting. Yeah. When TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, or when social media started exploding with all the mental health content.
Yes.
One of the main things that came up was boundary setting. And then it got pulled into a couple of different directions. Like people who were posting about work. Boundaries was also a big thing. Di ba na parang only do what you're required to do, and there's a lot of back and forth na people are like, ay, ang tatamad nyo kasi, you don't want to do more.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of boundaries, I think, for me, I feel the reason a lot of people are talking about this, other than, Mel Robbins tends to have a lot of good words of wisdom that, people can unpack, is that I think a lot of people relate to wanting to discuss what boundaries mean for them.
Exactly. That's good.
Sama din tayo dun.
Oo. And kasi a lot of us, we really forget to set boundaries. Especially sa work.
And sa family. Bilang mga...
And family. Nako, most importantly.
Bilang mga Pilipino, ibang...
We go above and beyond. So...
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And I think that's what you'll find out with some of the discussions that we're going to be having today. A lot of these things with boundaries and in terms of language, what are you not responsible for? There's a lot of nuance to it. Na hindi siya black and white na parang job description. Na, responsible ka for opening and closing the store.
Yeah.
And then yun lang. Like I think there's certain things that clear. But when it comes to boundaries with people in relationships, I think a lot of things are shifting. So with that, let's jump into the number 1. Ano yung number 1 out of the 7 things that you're not responsible for?
So number 1, you are not responsible for other people's happiness. Let them be unhappy.
May ganun talaga, let them be unhappy. Hindi ba pwedeng let them be happy on their own or basta not responsible ka?
Well, okay. I think eto sa other people's happiness kasi it can be toxic. It can be toxic na parang some people will tend to use you for their own happiness.
Totoo. And I think the other thing for me, yung parang people-pleasing tendencies. Meron kasi ako yung people-pleasing... Di makapag... Ano ba? English, Tagalog? Di makapagsalita. People-pleasing tendencies, yes. Personally, na yung feeling ko, ay hindi, kailangan masaya sa ganito, kailangan magawa yung ganito. Kaya personally for me, hirap ako magplano ng mga trips. Hirap akong gumawa ng itinerary. Kasi pag ako gumagawa, nasa stress ako kasi feel ko, kailangan masaya lahat ng tao kasi lahat kayo nagbayad. Di ba? Lahat ng tao nag-take time off either sa work or sa school or kung ano man. Lahat pupunta ng trip. So pag ako nagpaplano ng trip, nasa stress ako kasi sabi ko, kailangan masaya lahat.
It's fine.
But it's true. You're not responsible for other people's happiness. And I think when you take that on, ang result nun, ikaw yung unhappy.
True. And, let's say, for example, in a relationship, like...
May hugot ba yan?
Maybe. Sa relationship, di ba, let's say, yung couple, ganyan. can we say na you're not responsible for other people's happiness?
Ay, good point.
Can we really say that?
Kasi nga naman, di ba, technically you're in this together.
Yes.
Ano? I think...
Made you think, ha?
Ayan. But I think for me, I would amend this post. I would parang update this quote na parang I would say, you are not solely responsible for other people's happiness. Like, I think I agree in a relationship. Parang may responsibilidad ka to make your partner happy. Di ba? Kaya nga kayo in a relationship. But I think at the same time, it's equally as toxic pag feeling mo, ikaw lang ang may burden to make your partner happy.
Exactly. That's the keyword dun. Yung equal. Equal kayo sa relationship. Kasi di ba?
Equal ang responsibility.
Yes. So, technically, you're responsible for each other's happiness.
And I think that responsibility goes both ways. Na, I mean, the way it manifests itself goes both ways. Na hindi lang siya in terms of, oh, I need to do XYZ to make so-and-so happy. I think it's more, if I'm unhappy, I need to also let them know. Diba? Na yung responsibility na, and then vice versa, you expect your partner to be able to share pag hindi sila happy. Na parang,
Communication.
And I think that's where the boundary lies. Na parang, oo, tama, kailangan kong maging responsible sa happiness mo bilang partner ko, bilang mahal kita, bilang asawa, bilang, jowa, or whatever you wanna call it, or anong level ng relationship nyo. Pero may responsibility din yung person na yun sa'yo na kailangan nilang i-communicate na, hindi ako happy dito, kailangan natin pag-usapan to.
Yeah. Compromise. So etong not responsible for people's happiness. It's different setting naman kung if it's maybe your friend or someone you're not in a romantic relationship. Let's say your coworker.
I would argue. I would argue it's the same pero different levels.
Yeah, I mean, you're not equal na dun. You're not partners.
I guess if you put it that way, na hindi kayo partners, I agree. But I think in terms of like friendships, like ganito, sa ating dalawa, the expectation I think is still equal in that because we're in this relationship, because we're in this friendship, I call you a friend, you call me a friend, you see me as a friend, I see you as a friend. I have the same expectation of like, if something I'm doing makes Joe unhappy, I'm expecting Joe to tell me. Because I will tell her if something that she does doesn't make me happy. And it's the same thing na parang I would do my best if it's within, things that I can do to make you happy. Like agreeing to things like ganito, nagpa-podcast. Na I think I agree it's fun and I think it's something that we're both gonna enjoy. So I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And there's a responsibility I take on that. Na because I agreed to this, it's a commitment that we're gonna do this. I cannot just say, I'm not responsible for your happiness. Let you be unhappy. Diba? Parang, sige, cancel ko na lang. Di ako pupunta this week sa recording namin. Bala siya. Mag-usap sila nung mic niyang mag-isa. Na I think that's why I think different relationship just have different levels of kung asan ang responsibility mo. Like yung sabi mo, coworkers. Hindi ka naman pwede ning rude sa mga coworkers mo.
Of course not. But you just set a certain boundary with that. Kasi eto nga di ba? Sometimes kasi, kapag yan naging toxic na, let's say, you have a friend. Etong si friend mo, kahit close kayo, let's say, nagkakaproblema siya sa boyfriend niya, sa girlfriend niya, whatever. And then, this person always comes to you. Expecting na...
Pasasahin mo sila.
Yes.
Ano ka, clown?
Ganon nga. So, pero di ba, and as a friend, ikaw naman, you do your responsibility as a friend to, let's say,
comfort
or give them advice or whatever, but they still keep going back to the same routine. Get what I mean? So parang, okay, hindi ko na responsibility na hindi ka masaya kasi ayaw mong makinig eh. Kasi ayaw mong i-cut yung toxic relationship mo eh.
Hugot Sino bang friend ito? We'll talk about it off air.
No, I'm just giving out,
Examples.
scenarios. So, hanggang saan mo iti-take yun? Or are you just gonna let this person be unhappy just because, parang there's no use for you to keep trying to help this person.
Totoo. I think in that situation, I actually think this quote would fully apply. Yung let them be unhappy. Kasi I think, I'm thinking also in terms of my parents, for example. There are decisions that I made, choices that I made, na they don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, parang yun sa friend mo, or parang sa situation with a friend, I'm not naming any names. you counsel them, you give them advice. My parents talk to me about, no, I don't think you should do that, or ganito, ganyan. But at the end of the day, some of those choices, I listened to them. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. And some of those choices, I was like, well, whatever. I'm still going to do it. And I think in those situations, my parents absolutely have the right to say, I'll let you be unhappy. Decision mo yan eh. Diba? Sinabihan na kita. Like, as somebody who has gone before you, papunta ka pa lang, pabalik na kami. Sabi ko, ba di ka nakita?
Typical parents.
Typical parents, exactly. Parang yung mga ganon na sinabihan na nila ako, but I still chose to do X, Y, and Z. Or let you be unhappy.
Oh, kasi yun ang consequence ng choice mo.
Pero they've done yung responsibility nila na as my parents, there's a certain level of responsibility sila na to make me happy. Yeah. In terms of, anak nila, ganito, ganyan. Pero there's a limit to it na not everything that makes me unhappy is their fault.
Yeah.
And my source of happiness is not fully gonna come from them. They have their own lives. May mga kapatid ako, so there are other children that they have to care for. There are other people in their lives. They have friends also. They have their parents also. Their siblings. Now, I think for me, this quote na you're not responsible for other people's happiness, to me really talks about building that boundary with different kinds of people. Because you understand na as a person in relationship with other people, whether it's friendship or family, you do have certain responsibilities.
Yes.
It's just about it's about realistically setting those expectations na hanggang saan ba yung responsibility ko.
So, and it really depends on anong relationship you have with the person. So, see? Nasa una pa lang tayo. We have 6 more to go.
Sabi na, 3-part series?
Wag naman. So, we're good with that.
I think so.
Okay. So, if you guys agree, mag-comments lang kayo dyan, or you disagree, comments lang din kayo dyan. And
so, tayo ay agree with changes.
Agree to disagree and agree again. No, yes, may mga
agree with revisions.
Revisions, yes. Okay, let's go to number 2.
Number 2.
You are not responsible for making people understand your choices. Let them be confused.
Eto, 100% agree. 150, ganun.
Ako, I agree then. Agree.
Okay, move on. Joke.
Agree.
Bakit ka agree? Sige, let's unpack that. Kasi ako may reasons din.
Okay. Sobrang nakaka-relate ako dito. Kasi, I'm the weird one. Let's face it. I'm the weird one. Alam yan ng family ko. Alam ng siblings ko yan. So,
shout out sa mga tita mo.
hello, peeps. Hi, fam. So, I don't need to explain myself to anybody. I don't need to explain my choices, my decisions, or kung anong gusto kong gawin. I will not be apologizing for who I am.
Amen.
And it's never wrong to, this one it's never wrong to choose yourself. No. Especially kung alam mong nasa tama ka, or kung alam mo na
kung
wala
alam mong
ka.
nasa tama ka at wala
Yes.
kang naagrabyado, wala kang nasasaktan.
Of course. Syempre, yung, just be who you are. Even if people don't understand you, like, why do you like certain things? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Well, because this is who I am.
Mhm.
I will not change myself just because it doesn't fit your image of me.
Mhm. But I think not even that. Like, I think this quote really speaks to I don't have to explain myself to you.
Period.
It's not even about changing. It's like,
Mhm.
that I'm just not, I don't have to explain myself. Na bakit mukhang gubat yung ating studio? Kasi si Joe ay mahilig sa plants. Kaya madami kami
Not
plants
really,
dito.
but
For now, yun ang kanyang obsession. No, but I think for me, sa akin, kasi, there's this quote that I don't even remember where I heard it from. Pero narinig ko siya before na, you should really not, there's really no need for you to explain yourself. Kasi sabi niya, the people who hate you will not believe you anyways. Kahit ano explain mo, they're not gonna pick it up. And then the people who love you don't need it.
don't need it. I
Diba,
think I've read that somewhere.
Yeah, I think that at one point parang it's everywhere. And I think, diba, I brought up your titas. Na, yung kasi, they're family friends, so we know each other's families, ganon. Na, you're right, I think your titas agree na you're the weird one.
I agree too.
Pero your titas speak very fondly of you. Na, alam mo yan eh, alam mo na mahal ka nila. Alam mong nandyan sila for you. Kahit na yung mga choices mo, they don't always understand. And I think it's come to a point na, I don't need to explain myself to them na, because you're like, well, agree to disagree. You know, like, certain things. And I think for me, ganun yung feeling ko din with my family. Na, and you've met
Yeah.
my family. Na, there are certain things na I don't think they fully agree with the stuff that I do, with like career choices, ganyan.
Yes.
I'm working a new job right now, diba? I've been here for roughly 2 years. The job that I had before this, I was very happy about it. Pay was good. Career trajectory was really good. Tapos, at one point, akala ko naman medyo supportive naman yung family ko sa akin. Turns out, nung umalis na ako sa job na yun, ito palang nanay ko. Matagal na daw pala niya pinagpipray na umalis ako sa job na yun. Hindi daw pala talaga siya masaya. But, like yung decision ko to go there, obviously I explained myself, not because I was hoping for them to understand, but I wanted to share my thought process. I wanted to share. Sabi ko, I'm going into this job kasi my friend works there. They recommended me. The business is expanding very quickly.
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity. Like, I was at that job, I think, for roughly 1 to 2 years. And in that 1 to 2 years, I had like 3 different title changes. Puro promotion. I mean, obviously now in hindsight, I understand medyo ganun pala yun kasi the business had no idea what they were doing. They're expanding very, very quickly. And so people were filling in different roles. But at that point, even before I started, because my friend also had a similar trajectory, even before I started, that was my goal of going in there. So because I wanted this position could pay, I wanted to work at this company because they paid
To work
pretty
your way
well
up.
to work my way up. And I knew they were expanding. Their business model had like some franchisees overseas. So sabi ko, there's a lot of opportunities for me to go into either project management or some sort of leadership role. But the whole time pala, hindi talaga masaya si mami na doon ng work ko. And now that I've left there, I guess my mom had insight na it wasn't a good place. And so yun, yung ganun na at that point,
Mother's instinct.
mother's instinct. Parang at that point, my mom, I never felt like she, like kaya nagulat ako nung bago na yung job ko. Nagulat ako na hindi pala siya masaya na doon ako sa previous work ko. Kasi I had no other indication na hindi siya masaya na doon ako nag-work.
Because she still supports
She
you.
still supports me. Parang, when we talk about my job, never naman siyang iirap or typical your Filipino parents or Asian parents na, will roll their eyes or would make comments na, kasi sabi sa'yo, wag ka dyan. Like, my mom never did any of that. And I think kasi for her, she's like, you know what, whatever, this is your decision, make your own mistakes. Going back to the first one nga na, let him be unhappy. Trabaho niya yan eh. But, so yung ganon na, I know they love me. And so there's no point trying to explain myself. And I think coming out of certain work situations also, I realized there's no point defending myself when the people are actually intent on bringing you down. Na yung mga tao talaga na parang gusto ka lang nilang mag-fail, na they're na toxic lang din talaga sila. Akala ko noon, sabi ko, I can convince them na, I'm like this, I'm like that. I tried explaining my side of things. And I realized pag alis ko, sabi ko, hindi. They already
No.
made up their mind.
Exactly.
Kung ano ako, sino ako, at ayaw nila. They made up their mind na ayaw nila ako to be in their group or to be working with them or whatever.
Close-minded people.
Yeah. And so I was like, so when I read that quote, na, you don't have to explain to the people who love you. They don't need it. You don't explain to people who hate you because they won't believe you anyways. You're not responsible for making people understand your choices. Doon nag-click. Sabi ko, oo nga, kahit anong explain ko sa kanila, wala. Ayaw nilang makinig. Ayaw nilang maniwala.
I guess I can add to this. The only thing you're responsible for is your choices.
Ay, true.
Mm.
Totoo. You're not responsible for making people understand your choices, but you're responsible for the consequences of your choices.
O, diba?
So, ano na naman tayo? Agree with revision.
Agree with revision.
Hindi revision tayo. Agree with addition.
Yun ang number 2.
Number 2.
Okay, so let's go to the next one. Number 3 na tayo, guys. Number 3, you are not responsible for managing someone else's emotions. Let them feel how they feel. Quite similar to the first one.
Almost, but the first one was specific to happiness. This one is
managing
in general.
Someone else's emotions. Oh my gosh, ako magkaka-mental health dito. You know what? I don't know what it is with me. I have people come up to me and talk about their feelings, their emotions, I don't know really what it is.
Mukha ka daw therapist.
I think so. You know what? One of my friend actually calls me your therapist. Right? Shout out to you, my friend.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. I don't think you would want me to tell who you are, but yes. But not just that, not just my friend, like other people. Like sometimes I'm like weirded out by it. Huh? Why are you telling me this? Like, what do you want me to do? Weird lang. But, again, the only thing I can do is, magbigay ako ng advice. Or, maybe have a different point of view with the situation of the person. Kasi, probably have a different, tag doon. Perspective. So, yun lang ginagawa ko. Pero yes, we are not responsible for anybody's emotional roller coaster. Okay?
I think I like that this quote actually says managing.
Mm-hmm.
Kasi, when we were preparing for this podcast, alam mo, mukha lang kwentuhan lang kami, pero prepare talaga kami. So when we were preparing for this podcast and, talking about these different points, sabi ko, actually, ito, hindi ko gaanong fully agree. Lalo na doon sa second statement niya na let them feel how they feel. Kasi sabi ko, there are a lot of ways you can use this to excuse bad behavior. Diba? Na parang, I'm just gonna call you names. Or lalait-laitin na lang kita kasi hindi ako responsible for how you feel. And then reading through it again, I think, I like that sabi niya, you're not responsible for managing someone else's emotions. I think you're responsible, parang yung kanina, di ba sabi natin, you're responsible for the consequences of your actions.
Yes.
So if my actions hurt you and make you feel bad, make you feel sad, make you feel angry, I think to an extent I have a responsibility to that. Pero I like but I'm not responsible for managing people's emotions. I'm responsible for how my actions, I guess to an extent, make them feel, but not managing the whole of it. Like if I hurt people, I have to apologize for it. But I think to
especially
me,
if it's not intentional naman.
Oo, and I think to me yung ang weird. I realize ang gulo-gulo nung sinasabi ko. Kasi napaka-nuance itong number 3. Number 3 na to, di ba? O
yes,
number 4? Number 3. Napaka-nuance itong number 3 for me. Kasi parang, tama. You're not responsible for managing someone else's emotions. Like, even, to be natin, you and I, Joe and Joe, I'm not responsible for managing how you feel. I'm not supposed to come into, whenever we hang out or come into when we're recording or come into when we're planning our stuff. I'm not there to be like, is Joe having a good time? Is Joe doing this? Is Joe doing that? Is Joe feeling this way? Is Joe feeling... It's not my responsibility to do all of that. But going back to your first one, we were talking about, your relationship with people. I do have certain responsibilities in how I act when I'm in your presence. And how I act when we have something that we said we were going to do together. We're going to be recording this podcast, or we're going to be planning our podcast, or we're just hanging out.
Yeah.
Na, kaya I like yung managing. But I'm responsible to an extent for how I make you feel if I care about you, and also to make sure I don't hurt you. But to manage all of it, as an adult, you manage your own stuff.
Yeah.
Diba? Responsible.
And honestly, I don't think I would want someone else to manage my emotions.
Ay, my point.
Diba?
I didn't think of it that way.
Well, I did.
Ba't di mo sinabi na nagpo-prep tayo?
Manage your emotions, yeah.
Sabi na, micromanager ka kasi.
Diba? Like, I don't know. Maybe for me, that's how I see it. Like, no, I wouldn't want anyone else to manage. I want to see how they think about my situation or how I feel about certain things. But to, like, tell me, oh, you have to do this, or you have to, be nitty-gritty about...
Or why don't you feel this way?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's true. There's a flip side of that. Na parang, I don't want somebody to be managing my emotions. May pagka-manipulative ang
Yes.
dating.
Let them feel how they feel. Yun naman, yung statement na yun. Let them feel how they feel. I think the only time I would agree to that is if, let's say ikaw, broken-hearted ka. Yung gagawin mo. I will let you feel broken-hearted as long as you want, because you have to deal with your emotions. Diba? You have to go through to that stage, eh. You have to go through to that. Otherwise, you won't be able to move on from it.
Totoo. And I think, actually I agree with the second statement. Let them feel how they feel. Kasi I strongly believe na our emotions are tools that we were given.
Mm-hmm.
We don't always like all the emotions that come around or that we feel, but I think I do believe that our emotions play a role in helping us understand the world, understand ourselves, helping us navigate it. As a Christian, I believe na emotions are part of how God created us. Mm-hmm. And so, to me, by saying let them feel how they feel, I completely agree. Na if I did something that hurt you, I should also let you feel how you feel. Parang nagalit ka, nasaktan ka. Tama yan eh. You have the right to feel that way. Kasi what I did really hurt you. Mm-hmm. And then, and then we work through that. Kasi I feel like the opposite of this, if you don't let people feel how they feel, is gaslighting.
Yeah.
Like pag may ginawa ko sa'yo, and then you're like, Joe, I really did not like what you did. Tapos nung sabi ko, ba't napaka-sensitive mo?
I know, diba? But that happens a lot.
Very high school. But the crazy thing is, it's not just high school. I realized now that I've been working for a couple of years, the corporate world is practically high school.
Tell me about it.
I'm just like, no, you don't feel this way, you don't feel that way. And I think, yeah, buisit. It's like, buisit. And I think, just going back, like a friend of mine was telling me na they see emotions as like a flame. So when you feel an emotion, anger, love, happiness, however you want to label your emotion, para siyang flame that you feel it, so it's there. And then you feel it wherever in your body. And sabi niya sa akin, when an emotion comes, you sit with it, you let it burn. Mm-hmm. Parang a candle, or when you have a bonfire, you let it burn, and eventually whatever it was burning will go away. Like no candle will stay lit forever unless my human intervention and you add something. No bonfire is gonna stay lit forever unless you keep adding wood to it. Like at some point the fire will die out.
Yeah.
And yung sabi ng friend ko na, feel the emotion, sit with it, let it burn until mawala siya. And then pag wala niya, sabi niya, and then thank it. Thank the emotion. And
Thank
then
you for
once-
letting me feel this way.
Yeah, and then once the emotion leaves, then you reflect. Like, why was I feeling that way? Like, what was it trying to tell me? What was it trying to teach me? And then do that. And I think that's why for me, this, at the end, let them feel how they feel. I think it's so true. I think there's so much value in letting people feel how they feel. And this goes both ways. Like I've seen instances personally. I've experienced instances where I was so excited about something
Yeah.
and then people shut it down. Parang wala namang mali sa sinabi nila. Like for example, I'd be excited about, let's do this. Ang sagot sa akin, have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Paano to? Paano tong ganito? Paano yung ganito? Paano yung ganito? Practical naman. Like, I think those are definitely things you want to think about.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, couldn't you have shared my excitement at least for like the next 30 seconds? Kasi yung feeling nun na nawala agad. Dismissive. Yeah. Parang I wasn't allowed to feel the happiness that I wanted, the excitement that I had. Kasi parang all of a sudden it's like, paano to? Paano to? Paano ganyan? Na it made it sound like your idea is not feasible. Or that what you're excited about is a very small thing. It's not that big a deal. I like that. Let them feel how they feel. I 100% agree with the second part. Let them feel how they feel.
And just to add to that now, I guess, before the pandemic, it's the mental health issue is not so big as it is now.
The pandemic really helped open people's eyes.
Yes. Kasi people don't really care na, I'm feeling this, arte lang yan.
Especially in Filipino community.
Yes. Like, maarte ka lang.
Alam mo, it was crazy kasi I thought most of my friends are in the same kind of like headspace. Tapos, I was talking to one of my friends na just casually, parang ganito, like I was talking and sabi ko, yeah, I think I was telling my therapist this. Tapos tingin siya sa akin, sabi niya, bakit ka may therapist? yung medyo judgmental yung tanong na nagulat siya na, may therapist ka? Ba't ka may therapist? And I know this friend. Like, this friend is very dear to us, actually. You know this person. We'll talk about it off record. But, I know this person. I know we have a really good relationship. And I know that moment na nagsabi siya na ganon is a product of her upbringing as a Filipino. Na yung idea na, and she's also of a certain age. So she was
na
part
it doesn't
of that generation.
exist.
Hindi naman it doesn't exist. Na parang it's more like, pag may therapist ka, balyo-balyo ka na ata.
Yes.
Or yung level na, may pinagdadaanan ka bang something big? Kaya may... And I just told her, sabi ko, I've been seeing my therapist for like 2 years, 3 years at this point. To me, it's like seeing a dentist. Na parang, you want to regularly see your dentist. Para maagapan mo yung mga, tooth decay, you have regular cleaning, you have regular ganyan. So, to me, I see my therapist regularly. Because to me, it helps me unpack certain things. And helps you parang maintenance na, you know, you have regular check-ins before stuff goes big and blows up. But it was just really interesting to me na for somebody na I thought was like in a similar wavelength, especially sabi mo nga, diba, after the pandemic, most people are thinking more about mental health and are more open to it. Nagulat ako dun sa comment na, ba't ka may therapist? I was like,
kasi kailangan ko. Baka ikaw kailangan mo rin. Gusto mo, I can recommend you.
I'll refer you. Ganon.
Kaloka.
Let them feel. You are not responsible for managing someone else's emotions.
Yes.
Let them feel how they feel.
And let them manage their own emotions.
Let them manage their own emotion.
Okay. Wow,
So,
ang haba nun, ha?
Agree tayo? Agree.
Agree. Oh.
Alam mo, feel ko talaga, two-parter itong...
No, I don't think so. Okay.
Ano to? 4? 5?
I don't know. 4? 4, I think. Okay. Number 4, you are not responsible for proving your worth to people who don't see it. Let them underestimate you.
Love this one.
I love this too.
Love this one.
So, eto naman. Actually, I don't like people expecting something from me. I don't.
Explain.
I kind of don't want yung expectation na ganyan. Kasi, ewan ko, I just don't like it. I just don't like that feeling na, oh, expect ka na ganun. Kasi, I like, let's say sa work, I'd like to do things my own way.
Mm.
But the only expectation you will have of me is, I can do it. And I can deliver it to you. Parang ganon. Ewan ko.
Your worth.
My worth.
Where
Ayoko.
is it? See you going. Hirap?
Basta, I don't, like, your worth, why? Why would you even want to prove your worth to people? Because are you trying to please this person or these people? For what?
I like that you brought up work. Kasi when I was reading through this the first time, sabi ko noon, ang naisip ko ng situation work.
Mm.
Sabi ko, when you start a new job, naka-probation ka, you do have to prove your worth. Para there's a certain expectation of proving your worth. But then you read the second one, let them underestimate you. And then
I like people underestimate me and then I
over-deliver. Totoo, a good tip, guys. A good rule of thumb in the corporate world or in the corporate setting or in any business setting, even when you're in any business setting, when you're working with clients, working with other businesses, or working with your team, always under promise and over deliver. Mm-hmm. That's a complete segue pero related business tip, work ethic tip. Under promise and over deliver. If you know you can finish something, say in a week, tell them it's gonna take you, I don't know, a week and 3 days. Tell them I'll get it to you by middle of next week. That way, pag nagbigay ka at the end of the week, masaya sila. Kasi in their heads, you exceeded expectation.
Yeah.
Kasi ang problema dun, pag binigay mo lang na exactly what you can do, tapos things happen, life happens, you failed, hindi ka umabot, di palya ka. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what, I agree with what you're saying of like, it's nice sometimes to be underestimated. Kasi, mas may wow factor pag nag-deliver ka.
Yes, you can take them by surprise and like, oh my gosh, you did that?
Kasi hindi nila expect na kaya mong gawin yan, hindi expect yan. And it's also really good when it comes to, when you're competing for certain things, when your competitors underestimate you, they also underestimate how they would deal with you. And I think, and your loss, diba? And I think I agree. You are not responsible for proving your worth to people who don't
Pero
see
diba,
it.
meron saying na don't let other people underestimate you.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Don't, pero, don't let them underestimate you, but, just do something else about it.
Actually, parang okay nga pag, di ba, parang sa kanya parang okay nga pag in-underestimate ka nila.
Ako nga, mas gusto ko yung ganun kasi I can take you by surprise.
Sabi nung isang coworker ko before, I really like what she said. Sabi niya, you always wanna stay within a good, 80 to 90% of your capacity when you're at work. Obviously, this is with the caveat na you're doing everything you're supposed to do. Like, I'm not, when she says 80 to 90%, she doesn't mean only do 80 to 90% of your job. Hindi naman tama yun. 80 to 90%, you perform at about 80 to 90%. And so people always expect to get an 80 to 90. That way, when you perform at 100% or like 105, everyone's so impressed. Everyone's like, oh wow, ang dami mong nagawa, ang ganyan. And the reason she was telling me this, kasi when we were coworkers at this one place, bibo-bibo pa ako nun. Kasi, kabataan, starting career, ganyan. Siyempre, oh my gosh, I can do everything. I want to prove my worth to everybody. I kept performing at about 110% across the board. 110% because I was like, hindi, push, kaya ko yan. I want to show I can do this. Obviously, performing at 110% consistently is the perfect recipe for burnout.
Yeah. Exhausting.
So I burnt myself out very quickly. And then there was like 1 week where I performed at 100%. Which meant it was still above what I was expected for the role. It was I was still doing very well. Diba? I was performing at 110%. That week, I was performing at like 100. 102%. Ganon. Yung boss ko, sat me down.
Yeah.
Sabi, Ivan, is everything okay? Nagulat ako. Basically, they made me feel like I wasn't doing what I'm supposed to do. Kasi nasanay sila.
Exactly. That's
naka
the downside.
ako.
That's the downside of it.
Kaya sabi nung friend, yung coworker ko yun, na friend ko na ngayon, I'm really good friends with her. Sabi niya, Ivan, that was your fault. Yung kasi nickname niya sa akin, Ivan the Terrible. Hindi ko alam saan galing. So, yun ang tawag niya sa akin. Sabi niya, that was your fault na you set the expectation na 110% ka magpe-perform. When you're really supposed to only be performing 90, 100%, passing na yun. Dahil sobrang task ka, now that's what they're expecting of you. As opposed to if you just stay where you're supposed to be, if you overperform here and there, masaya sila. Kaya I don't agree with yung don't let them underestimate you. I think for me, it's like, prove them wrong.
Yeah, addition.
Yeah, I like them better na yung prove them wrong. But also, hindi kasi sabi dito, don't prove your worth. Ano ba?
Ang gulo.
Nahilo ako.
No, you're not responsible for proving your worth to people who don't see it. If they don't see it.
Kasi they refuse to see it most likely.
So that's the key word. Who don't see it. You should always prove your worth to people. Lalo na kung sa workplace yun. But if they don't see it, why do you have to keep doing it?
Tama.
I mean, why do you have to keep proving yourself kung they won't even accept you for your worth?
Nahilo ako? So anong natin? Anong stand natin? I agree. Yung if they don't honest, I think when I say prove them wrong, it's more like, win. Win at whatever it is you're trying to do. Accomplish what it is you're trying to accomplish. You will always have people who don't believe you. That even if you accomplish it, they'll say, ay, swerte lang yan. Ay, kasi may pera yan. Ay, kasi tinulungan ni ganito. So I think in my head, when I think of prove them wrong, in my head, I'm like, they underestimated you. They think you can't do it. Just do it,
Just do it.
Just do it. May pa-add.
That's true. I guess, yes, I agree
so,
with
agree
that.
na naman tayo sa second part.
Agree.
Let them underestimate you. I guess clearly we both like being underestimated. It's not a good feeling. And you know what? Let's put the caveat. It's not a good feeling sometimes when you're being underestimated. Kasi parang...
As long as you know your worth.
Yun ang important.
As long as you know your worth, it doesn't matter if people will accept you or not.
Ay. Palitan na natin yung quote.
Yes. Kasi this is so confusing. This quote is so confusing.
You're not responsible for proving your worth to people who don't see it. Tama.
I don't have to prove my worth to people who won't see it.
So I think ang responsibility mo, you're responsible to know your worth.
Yes.
Yeah, you're
Diba?
responsible to know
Yun
your worth.
yung agree natin.
Ayun ang gawin na lang natin. Yun ang ilang sasabihin natin at the end after we go through all 7. We'll go back and then we'll say, but you are not responsible for but you are responsible for
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this one, you are responsible for knowing your worth.
Sana matandaan natin lahat. Okay, next. This is
very connected to the previous one. Or read it out para alam
okay,
ng mga
you
tao.
are not responsible for meeting everyone's expectations. Let them be disappointed. Connected, yes, but I don't think I would do something to deliberately disappoint somebody.
I know. So parang,
Especially if it's work-wise, like, why do you want your boss to be disappointed to you, diba? But, yung first na you're not responsible for meeting everyone's expectations, yes, kasi, first of all, why would they have expectation of you if you're already delivering? Kasi, like, for example, sa work, they always expect you to be the go-to person. You have to fix things all the time. So like, why? It's not my responsibility. Like, it's just an expectation of them from you na, oh, kasi you're good at this so we expect you to do it. You get what I mean?
I think, connection to sa una, the other one is let them underestimate you. When you underestimate somebody, it's an assumption ahead of time. When you underestimate somebody, it's because you're assuming how they'll perform, what they'll do. Let them be disappointed is what happens if their expectations are not met. Di ba yun yung sa dulo? You're usually disappointed after something's already happened.
Yeah.
Di ba?
Ito, question ko sa'yo. How about those people who would always say, oh, that's not my job?
I think if it's really not their job, then it's not their job.
But what if it is part of it?
Then mali sila.
But you know what I mean?
I think we need to contextualize this. I feel like this was meant to be life advice in general. But obviously, if it's life advice in general, then it applies some of it to work. Because I think you're right. Like, if it's at work, there are certain expectations. Like, if ang title mo, receptionist, everyone's expecting you to be
the receptionist.
The receptionist. Everyone's expecting you to be there when the doors open, whether it's at the office or at the clinic or at the store.
You have a certain role.
There's a certain role.
Yeah.
And yun na expectation. And I think you are responsible for meeting that expectation. Pwede bang yung receptionist nakatago sa likod? Di ba hindi? And that's everyone's expectation. Expectation ng customers, expectation ng client, expectation ng boss mo, expectation ng coworker mo. Bilang receptionist ka, yung expectation sa'yo. Pero kung ang expectation ay above and beyond, let them be disappointed. Kasi hindi mo naman responsibility yun. And I think that's where this quote kind of has some nuances. The first one is, if it's really not, paano ba itong sabihin? I think on the one hand, it's everyone's expectation. There are certain scenarios where you're not responsible to meet everyone's expectations. Like, if you think about specifically, sabihin natin, let's continue with work. Yung boss mo specifically wants you to do X, Y, and Z. Pero yung supervisor ng kabilang team feels like you should be doing A, B, C, and X, Y, Z. Diba? So now you have two expectations from your boss and the supervisor of the other team. In that scenario, you're not supposed to meet everyone's expectations. You're only responsible to meet the expectations of your boss.
Yeah.
The one that's signing your paycheck. The one that's doing your performance review. And the one that hired you in the first place. But expectation
The one you report to.
The one you report to. So let them be disappointed. O di ba disappoint yung kabilang team? Issue na nila yon. Ba't sila nag-expect sa'yo?
First of all, you're not my team.
Exactly. And I think work is a unique situation. Kasi there's a couple of different things happening there.
Yeah.
I think this quote maybe applies a bit more to, say, family. Lalo na as Filipino families, diba? Or like as in Asian families in general.
Oh, yes.
Yung expectation ng tito at ng tita at ng pinsan mo at ng lolo't lola mo from both sides at yung mga kapatid nila na you're like, bakit hindi ka ganito? Ba't hindi ganito karami pera?
You're gonna be a doctor one day!
Or yung, ba't di mo tulungan yung pinsan mo? Ba't di mo tulungan yung pamangkin mo? Ba't di mo tulungan yung expectation nilang lahat na ikaw ang responsible for everybody. And you're like, excuse you.
Simpleng-simple nga eh. Ba't di ka pa nag-aasawa?
Ay, pag nag-asawa ka naman, asan yung anak mo? Ba't wala pa akong apo? Pag nag-aapo ka.
Expectations!
Pag nagkaanak ka naman, kailan mo susundan?
Like, when are you getting married? Why are you still single?
And then I think even with that, like we can expand to like even beyond just the Filipino culture where we live in a world today where, I mean, I guess today it's a bit different, but there's also societal pressure at large na, why are you still single? There's this big thing somehow na
like,
it's important
why can
to
I
be
not
in a
choose to be
relationship.
single now?
Exactly.
Diba? A lot of people choose to be single.
I think it's changing. I think it's definitely slowly changing. But I think it's still there. Na expectation na, Oh, why are you single?
Because I chose to be.
And I think in that scenario, where when you say everyone's expectations, you're talking about the society or the
Yeah.
world or, whatever culture you're in. In that regard, yeah, you're not responsible for meeting everyone's expectations. Let them be disappointed.
Yeah, like who cares? This
So,
is my choice.
exactly. So this one is agree situationally.
Situationally. Yeah.
Agree situationally.
Okay, next. Oh, you are not responsible for rescuing people from their problems. Let them learn from life. 100% agree.
Napag-usapan na natin to kanina, yung friend mo na balik na balik sa ex niya.
Sino ba kasi yun? But, yes. We're not responsible. Kasi how would people learn if they don't learn from their own mistakes? Even if you're the best therapist out there for your friend or for whoever,
Mm-hmm.
if that person doesn't want to learn from that relationship, situationship, or whatsoever ship, they will never get out of it. Ba? So you're not responsible if you're not Superman to rescue them. But they have to somehow rescue themselves first before you can fully help them out.
I think it's, to add to that, it's the fact na there are things na only they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think about, gamitin natin yung imaginary friend mo as an example, di ba na, you're not gonna be the one breaking up with the person.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can, typical telenovela, Hollywood movie na si ganito nag-scheme ng ganito ganyan, ginawa ng paraan, nauto si ganito, nauto si ganyan, hanggang sa naghiwalay na sila. You can do that, but it's like, no, relationship na yun eh. And it's a relationship that's killing her, him, whatever they identify as, na it's something that they have to be the one to remove. You can't rescue them. I think you can help them, be a shoulder to cry on, be somebody that listens to them, let them vent, let them rant. But the rescuing bit, they need to learn to do that.
They have to take that first step to do it.
And every step after.
Mm-mm.
Hindi lang the first.
Because they have to be willing to help themselves first before anybody else can help them. They have to be willing.
And I think the other thing on top of that also is yung consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Na, because when I think of rescuing, I think of yung typical storyline in any Hollywood movie or any Bollywood, Hollywood, Asian movie, whatever na, yung typical na may spoiled brat. Na the stereotypical spoiled brat whose family is like super rich or super powerful, that they don't have any consequences for their action.
Mm-hmm.
They do this, they do that, daddy's gonna take care of it. They do this, they do that, mommy has connections, mommy's gonna take care of it. And usually those storylines always end the same way, where the spoiled brat does not learn responsibility. Kasi feeling nila, lahat naman ng ginagawa ko, may solusyon kasi may pera si mommy, may pera si daddy. And I think it's the same thing na you're not responsible for rescuing people, to let them learn from life that there are really problems na you're not supposed to solve for people. And I think, with all of the ones that we've discussed so far, the reason we're talking about responsibilities is in relation to your boundaries, diba? Na, kasi pag pinoblema ko pa to save these people, to rescue them, na hindi ko naman trabaho, hindi akong na-stress. And then also, it's your resources. If you're super, super rich, billionaire,
Wow.
I don't know, Bezos, Musk level type of money in 2025, sila yung mayayaman ngayon.
Mm-hmm.
If it's chump change for you to save certain people from certain things, then, maybe. But not all of us have that kind of money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe, as much as I want to help, I really can't. Wala sa budget ko. Wala talaga akong mailalabas na pera. And I think this is where the boundary come in, where it's like, I shouldn't feel responsible and then stress myself out and then potentially make problems for myself by trying to rescue people who, like we were saying kanina, were not willing to even rescue themselves in the first place.
Ito lang, typical example. Money problems, right?
Ayun na.
Money problems. So, let's say this friend had, money problems. Comes to you. Asks for help. Like, kind of expecting you to help out because let's say you have the money to do it. If you gave that money out, would this person learn from that situation? Because there's a tendency that this person will go back to that same situation after. So, nagiging ano ka lang eh. Enabler. You're not actually rescuing this person. You're just enabling them. Or yung parang nagdi-delay ka lang for their learning from life. You're just delaying it.
Totoo. Kasi they're also gonna get bolder and bolder. And they might make bigger and bigger mistakes.
And you don't know, maybe there's an underlying issue. Let's say, kaya pala siya ganun kasi nagkakasino siya or whatever.
Addiction pala yun.
Yes. You never know,
Or
right?
pinalabas niya na, ay hindi yung kulang kasi yung pera namin pambili ng ganito.
Mm-hmm. So, in this situation, no, you're not responsible for anybody's misery. Let's put it that way. Misery. First of all, you're not the one who made it yung ganung problema. You did not give that problem to the person. You're not part of it. But you're getting dragged into the solution of it.
Tama.
I think that's a little unfair.
True. And I think I like that it ended with let them learn from life.
Everybody should learn from life.
Yeah.
One way or another, we should.
You're not responsible for rescuing people from their problems.
Okay, so agree?
Agree.
I like learning from life. So let's make more mistakes.
Yun pala yun.
Joke lang. Okay, next. You are not responsible for, again, managing everyone and everything around you. Let them be. So, dito yung mga OCD.
My gosh.
Managing everyone and everything around you. This is it sounds exhausting already.
Ayoko nito, next na.
No, I guess in the ideal world, you have a certain idea of how you want things to be. How you want your relationships to be. Or, kung what kind of people you want to be with in any aspect of your life. But really, the reality is you cannot please everybody. And certain people will always hate you no matter what.
Totoo. And I think I like na sabi nitong quote na to, not just everyone, but everything.
Everything around you.
I think sometimes as human beings, and I'm very guilty of this, we assume na we can control things.
Yeah.
And we really can't.
We cannot.
Ang napakatawag dito, ang kapal ng mukha natin to think that we can control things. I mean, I think, because, we live in the 21st century. Science has advanced so much. Technology has advanced so much. There are a lot of things that make us feel like we can control them. So make it feel like, oh, I can change them, I can change this. And then if you can't, it just makes you more devastated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and like you're not responsible for managing everything around you. Let them be. I think there's wisdom in being able to just let it go. I'm not happy that happened. I'm not happy because that wasn't part of my plan. But I'm like, I couldn't control for that.
Yeah. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Or once, yun na yun. Nakalimutan ko sasabihin ko.
But really, eto lang yan. You're only responsible for managing your your actions, your emotions.
And your reactions.
So yun.
Mhm.
Everyone else, it doesn't matter kasi you can never control other people anyways. You can never control how they act, how they react, how they would feel about certain things. So let it be.
True. But you're responsible for your own.
Your own. Ikaw
Mhm.
yun. Nobody else will be responsible for your actions except you.
Tama.
And you don't have to, you shouldn't put it to someone else's.
And you can't.
Yeah. Ikaw kasi, kaya ako ganito kasi ikaw. There
I
are
mean-
certain people would say that, oh, it's because of you why I'm like this. I'm so mad because of you.
May hugot yun ah.
Siya-
Parang sounds like somebody ah.
I'm the mad one.
Totoo.
Just let them be. Let it go. Let ano yun, let those certain situation takes its course.
Mhm. Tama. So ito, agree.
Agree. Plus, there are certain things naman na, yung parang, ikaw, you're stressing over things because you overthink.
Mhm.
Because you're trying to manage and control.
Ba't sa akin ka nakatingin?
Who else would I be looking at?
Ikaw ah.
But you know what I mean?
Pero totoo, ganyan ako.
Ang tamaan guilty. But really, it's true. Though you're stressing over things. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Because whatever it is, it will still happen whether you like it or not.
Totoo. It reminded me of, remember that one time? So guys, Joe and I, at one point, coordinated an event together. We planned an event
Oh
together,
my
coordinated an
gosh.
event together. And I remember, kasi mas experience si Joe sa akin. And at this event, I just kind of helped her out. So, wala naman ako ginagawa. Learn about the industry a little bit also. And it was for a good cause. So I wanted to help out. Sobra kong over-prepared. Remember, at one point, Joe gave up on me. Because I literally was like printing everything like 5 different copies. I had 5 copies of the timeline for the day, 5 copies of the list of all the vendors, 5 copies of every single thing that
The
we
program,
discussed.
everything.
The program, the timeline, the vendors, the contact information. Sabi ko, Joe, I need to print this. Sabi niya, no, we don't. Sabi ko, hindi, kasi kailangan natin alam pag ganito, pag ganyan. Sabi niya sa akin, Joe, we're fine. I'm like, are we? And at the end of the day, we were fine. At the end of the day, was the event perfect? No, it wasn't. I can list out to you all the different ways that the event could have gone better. But also, those were actually things that were out of our control. And regardless of how much I planned and how much of the things I wanted to prepare for, was actually not going to have any effect on some of the things that happened during that event. Because, the weather you can't control. The people you can control. It was an event for about 500-600 people. So it was a big event. You couldn't control every single person at the event. You can guide them. You can put signs everywhere. You can put the flow. You can fix the flow of the venue. You can fix the music with the DJ or with the person in charge of the playlist. There are a lot of things you can do to control how a crowd can behave. But there's also only so many things that you actually are able to fully control when you're dealing with 500-600 people in an event with an extra 20, 30, 50 staff from the event venue. Plus you're dealing with 60, 70 different vendors.
Yeah.
And then you're also dealing with the weather, traffic, who knows what with the electrical in the building, and so many different things actually happen. Maybe one day we'll talk about that event, or maybe not, because I don't want to revisit it other than now. But yung ganon na, I think, Joe, that for me was a really big lesson na I really can't control everything around me.
And however you prepare,
Yeah.
it's not gonna go.
Kasi at that point, kasi feeling ko
how you planned it.
Yeah, pero at that point kasi feeling ko responsibility natin.
Yeah.
Kasi sabi ko, tayo yung tinawag na event coordinator. So, kailangan planned ako for everything. So, sabi ko nga, bakit ikaw hindi ka nagpapanik na nagpa-plan na ganito, ganyan? And I was like, and then the day of happened, yung mga print, dami-dami ko print, di ko naman nagamit. So, kaya pala ayaw yung ipaprint sa akin. Wala palang kwenta.
You won't need it, actually.
And I think yun din yung going back to our point, you're responsible for your own actions and your own reactions, right? Like, as event coordinators for that specific event, we were responsible for planning. We were responsible for getting ourselves ready for the event. Obviously, I was over-prepared and Joe was just rightly prepared. And then when the day of happened, when all these different things were happening, we were only responsible for our reactions to things, The guest arrived late. Somebody couldn't find this. Somebody couldn't find that. Or the mic wasn't working. The speaker wasn't working.
There's always something
There's
going
always
on.
something not working or something going on. We weren't responsible for them. But we're responsible in how we reacted to them. And I think we did well.
Yeah.
I think the other organizers also thought we did well. And it's because we knew, and if you knew, because I was just following you, literally I had no idea what I was doing. Like, you knew what we were responsible for, which was we cannot control what would happen. But once something happens, we're responsible for how we react to it and how we try to solve it and how we try to, deal with it.
Because those little things you don't show to your clients. What's going on in the background.
Everything behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Ito. Mukha lang aligaga. Pero, ay!
But that was fun. Those are today's. Okay, so we're good with this one.
Agreed. This 100% agreed.
Managing everyone and everything around you. Because you can't really. You cannot.
Yes.
And
final word nila. Ano ba final word ni Learning Petals or I guess ni Mel Robbins?
Okay, so sabi nila dito, stop wasting your time and energy on things you can't control, like other people's moods, opinions, or actions, and focus on one thing you can control, which is you.
Exactly.
Yeah, those are the 7 things.
Do you want to go back and say what we're responsible for?
Yes.
Quickly. So, first one. Basa.
You are not responsible for other people's happiness. Let them be unhappy.
So, you are responsible for your own happiness.
Okay, next. You are not responsible for making people understand your choices. Let them be confused.
And
And
you are responsible for your own choices and the consequences of your choices.
yes, correct. Number 3, you are not responsible for managing someone else's emotions. Let them feel how they feel.
And you are responsible for your own emotions and how you feel.
Okay, next, you are not responsible for proving your worth to people who don't see it. Let them underestimate you.
And you are ultimately responsible for knowing your own worth.
Yes. And this one, you are not responsible for meeting everyone's expectations. Let them be disappointed.
Hala.
No.
You are responsible for understanding which expectations are realistic and which expectations are actually your responsibility.
So it depends on the situation.
And the people.
Okay. Next, you are not responsible for rescuing people from their problems. Let them learn from life.
You're responsible for your own problems.
That's it.
Because we all have them, diba?
Yeah. And I think this is the last one. You are not responsible for managing everyone and everything around you. Let them be.
You are responsible for how you react to everyone and everything around you. You're responsible for your actions towards them and towards those things.
And you're also responsible for your own emotions. Okay.
In those situations. Tama.
So that was a good topic, huh?
Ang dami nating pinag-usapan.
Yes, but I love having those meaningful conversations.
And I think basically at the end of it, I like that it ended with, the one thing you're responsible for is you.
You, yes.
Because in all these different scenarios, we talk about boundaries, we talk about boundary setting, we talk about what you're responsible for. And then we talk about the different relationships and the different situations. And the way, I think these things, and we found another list actually that had like 10 different things in them. And I bet you if you Google it or you ask ChatGPT or you ask any other, generative AI language model, you probably will find a multitude of other things that you are not responsible for how you can set boundaries. And I think for me, what I'm learning from all of this is that it's very important for me to understand the situation I am in and the people I am in relationship with to then understand where the boundaries are. Because my boundaries at work are different from my boundaries at school, are different from my boundaries in, when I'm in a public place, different from my boundaries when I'm with friends, different from my boundaries when I'm with family, and also different from different family members, So yun, ang importante is understanding
Your situation, your responsibilities, and also be accountable for your own actions.
Be accountable to. I think I guess last thoughts. One thing na I personally have, sometimes annoys me is when people start talking about boundaries. Lagi siyang nagiging conversation about other people. Na they can't do this to me. They shouldn't do this. Parang there's generally a lack of yung sinabi mo, accountability.
Yes.
Now, when we talk about boundaries, I think we need to understand that we're setting them. So one, we're responsible for keeping them. And also, when we set boundaries, we have to also understand that other people are setting boundaries. And we're accountable to not cross those also with them. And then how we respond to their boundaries. And also how we respond to when people cross our boundaries. And then we are ultimately accountable and responsible for the consequences of our own actions.
Exactly. So yan responsibility equals accountability.
Daming quotable quotes this episode.
So ayan. So, extra lang ang episode 1 natin.
Well, this comes to the territory of sabi natin, we want to talk about anything and everything. And each episode will have a different title because each episode will have its own kind of topic. And this was one topic that actually we went back and forth a couple of times. At one point, I wanted to cut this to 2 different episodes. But ultimately, we decided, you know what, let's not stop the conversation.
Yeah.
Na if it goes long, it goes long. If it goes short, baka wala man tayong masabi. It goes short. And I think that's what we're gonna do maybe moving forward. It's just... And so with that, we want to invite you to join the conversation. Whether you're hearing this when we publish it or you're hearing this 2, 3, 4 weeks or months down the line, reach out to us.
Yep.
We finally set up all of our social media. So we do have our Instagram set up. We have our Facebook page set up. We have our YouTube set up. And I'm assuming chances are you're listening to this on Spotify. So you can reach out to us in all those different channels. There are ways to either comment on the post or message us directly from there. And we will try to, respond to as many of them as we can. Because ultimately, we want this to be a conversation.
Yes. We want you guys to join us. Leave your comments or you can email us. So all our social media accounts, you can find us. Just type in Title the Podcast.
At Title the Podcast.
Yeah.
And so with that, thank you to everyone. And we look forward to seeing you
to our next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. If you have any suggestions for our next episodes, please free to reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
And again, thank you for listening. Titled the Podcast with Joe
and Joe.
Bye guys.